Okay, so
Our meeting is recording.
yeah, is that okay?
I don't know.
Oh, in
But
terms
what?
of like what we might be talking about, or
So we will be able to see it after.
yeah, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, or you wanna public it somewhere like I
No,
don't know.
no, it's not public. No, it would just be for your reference.
Okay, okay.
So let's see here. She responded. She said she'll try it in a bit. Go ahead and start with that. So yeah, let's do the quickest and easiest. So the IRS has this website called sa.www4.irs. So I'm just going to go there quick. And this happened.
Hold on 1 second. I want to follow you on my
Sure.
screen. What is this website? www?
Yeah, it seems like their website's not working at the moment. Let's just look up irs.gov plus login plus 990. So the form 990 is what we do once a year, and it's technically due on May 15th. However, annual electronic filing for small organizations, that's the one. So
What's the name? 990. Sorry, yeah, 990.
yeah, and the 990 will be both what we would use for basically any nonprofit. So that would include our foundation also. So you can see here, and I'm going to pull in this new link and put it where it needs to go. So this guy, copy, and I'm going to edit that hyperlink. So when you type Control K, you can paste a new link. So so anyway, here, as you can see, the username, I don't know if you can see it, or is it too small there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so JCINYC BOD is our login. And then the globe, and it says org name city, which this happens to be the password. So we hit submit, and it's going to take us to login activity. Basically, we do this roughly once a year, every year. Sometimes we sweep back just to double check things, but it says, so you can manage the submissions, meaning that, oh yeah, once it's created, you can manage submissions. Maybe that's like previous years. Let me just see what we got there. Right, so this is what was logged. Now, what's funny is 2017 and 2018 were pending. Don't ask me why, they've never gotten back to us. And what's interesting is we entered our EIN, which is this number 47159, blah, blah, blah. But it's associated with the United States Junior Chamber of Commerce because that's the affiliate parent organization to us. And so they automatically sort of associate all organizations that are hatched underneath as being associated to them. Don't ask me why, but this is just how it goes. So I just really never worried about it. So we would just say create new filing. So, you can see that that's listed here, which is 854, which is that one. And we say continue. And so this is
now I'm very glad we're making this video recorded.
Yeah.
I will be able to see it one more time.
Yeah, and it's pretty simple, really. If you're doing it in paper, it's like one page, but in this case, it says, okay, for the tax year 2021, which makes sense. It says, has your organization terminated or gone out of business? And we say no. Has your gross receipts normally 50,000 or less? And we say yes. So if it's above 50,000, you have to go to long form, which I've personally never done. I'm sure that there's accountants out here that know. Anyway, line 1 is United States Junior Chamber of, line 2 is Commerce, and same thing applies, and you say continue. And this one here is like, do you have a DBA? which I leave that blank because I don't want to confuse them. And then we just say, putting in information as far as the address. So this one, in the years past, like when we originally, not incorporated, but when we originally filed, it was my old address up in New York City. Now I live in New Jersey, so I would say that it would be best for us to choose a New York City address. And I want to say last year we might have used Mahat's. So this year I would probably opt for Vershini's. They've never asked us like, oh, did you change your address and get all huffy about it? So I'm assuming that it's not a super big deal.
Brandon?
Yeah.
So generally you can choose any address in the whole United States and it will be okay?
I think it's best to have one in the state you're filing on behalf of or in. So that's why, like, I'm choosing a New York address rather than my New Jersey address, So I'm pretty sure Vershini is fine with it just because she'd rather get the mail than us not get the mail, no matter what it is.
Are you filing this form now for real, or are you just showing it to me?
I was gonna do it for real. Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the next time we need to file it like next year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So probably it will be the job of another finance director.
Probably. Because I mean, I'll say that generally any elected officer cannot repeat the position. A appointed officer could, but generally we don't like that because it's a development opportunity lost to someone else. So this one here, the person who is representing the organization, this is the part where I'll probably continue to use my name only because I'm a US citizen. And also because Vershini is a diplomat, meaning in theory, she cannot represent a US corporation at the same time as being a diplomat for Mauritius. That's my understanding, at least. So this is the one where I could put my home address. So we're saying that the organization address is here. This is the website. This is me as a person. This is where I live. And we could say saves filing first, just to be safe. Make sure that it's saved. And then we'll say submit filing. Oh, number and street is a required field. Oh, why did this blank out? I didn't mean to do that. Oh, so that blanked out when we, and one other thing that I know that the IRS is quite particular about is not using periods or abbreviate. Well, the abbreviation you could, but don't use a punctuation, you know what I mean? So this.
I know. I was filing something to IRS, but not for a nonprofit. But
so this one here, let me just pull this out. Ooh, it's really annoying. Sometimes it's almost easier to type it from scratch than try to edit it. Okay, so that looks good. That looks good. That's good. Submit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is click print for our records and say PDF. We'll say landscape, just so it feels more like a postcard. Say minimum margins, and we'll hit save. And this is the part where I have Zoho Docs that syncs to a computer. So now the thing is that Vershini and this is something we actually need to talk about in more detail. She has a 2022 folder. However, these folders here were kind of intended to be in perpetuity, where we have like a previous folder and then we have like current things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2022.03.07 tax filing JCINYC, because we'll do a separate one for the foundation. So now if we go and look in that folder, let's see here.
For foundation, we have another username and password to IRS, or the same?
We haven't established one yet, so we'll definitely probably have a separate.
So it's gonna be first time?
Yeah, because it's a separate EIN. So I'm sure that they'll probably expect it to be separate documentation. So that's pulling up here. So you feel pretty comfortable with how I filled that out?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, a lot of it was auto-filled because it's not just the first year. When it is the first year, it'll pretty much walk you through it. So we have that on record. It says the date, so we're good. So then I'll just say log out. And so we're done with that. So let's see, next things. So you can basically say, okay, did that one, no big deal. The other ones on here, so maintain payment a journal using QuickBooks or other software, which, as I mentioned, you know, currently our ledger is tracked in here. However, we also have this tool, ZipBooks. How's it going, President Rashini? Are you a fly on the wall?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm just an observer. You guys carry on.
I asked if you were a fly on the wall. I said, I asked if you were a fly on the wall, so to speak.
Yeah, you know, I was posting the video for today, and it looks like we're going to overflow after Women's Day celebrations.
Oh, you mean we have more videos?
Yeah, I still have Kim. I still have my own. I still have JCI Canada.
Oh, okay.
And there was one from Ireland. She said she will send. She did not send, so I'm not gonna ask her again. But I think we'll continue maybe, you know, after that date also.
Okay.
So carry on. I'm just saying, yeah, I don't think you guys need me, do you?
No. So far, what we've done is we did the tax file.
So Inga is gonna pay for Cuba, right?
Yeah, because she had gotten the money from him. So yeah. I would say it wasn't just here because there's sirens going by. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. It hasn't yet shown up in the bank account feed here, but it also says connect bank account. Okay, yes. So every so often it checks to make sure that we have the two-factor authentication push. Let's see here. Credentials. Anyway, this is, I would just call it a faster way to look at our bank account. If we want it to become the reporting tool of record, as I was mentioning earlier to, and tell me, do you prefer Ada or AIDA?
AIDA is like...
Aicha.
Huh?
Aicha.
Yeah. Kutumwa. No, AIDA is like more more.
Oh yeah, I
I got used to AIDA.
Okay. All right. So, as I was telling Aida before, that logging payables, which is money we owe out, and then receivables, which is money yet to come in, would be very hard in a tool like this, especially where it's automatically reconciling to the bank. It's downloading the transactions from the bank, and it basically is downloaded everything back to January 25, which we could delete this transaction out and give it a starting balance and say like Jan 1 if we wanted. Because that's, basically a fresh new year. Anyway, so that thing is doing its thing in the background. Aida did review this, and one thing about project budgets, generally speaking, a project budget wouldn't need to be reviewed by the director of finance, except when it's what I would call large in terms of finances. So like we could set that that threshold. Ideally, it would be done in like a policy, but that policy might be lengthy to write, and I don't really want to spend the time right now because, I mean, I'll be honest, we got kind of tied up in policies last year, and I think it wore people out. So, long story short is we could even make like a brief half page and say, okay, projects that are over $1,000 total could be audited or could be overseen by the director of finance. In which then, yeah, we would want to look at like the induction budget and things like that, But generally speaking, like, on any average, like all members meeting or whatever, where the budget is low or zero, there's no need for you to review it unless there's something maybe questionable. But at the same time, ideally, every project that has financial impact does have a budget. So the financial statement for annual report, I will say that this one, we haven't done it in years past, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to do because there is a certain amount of transparency that the board owes to the chapter. And I want to say that is somewhat up for debate within the board members. I know some board members were like, oh, we don't need to tell them how much is in the bank or how little is in the bank. But I also know that, typically some chapters have presented a budget at the beginning of the year, or some boards have presented a budget to its members and said, here are all the projects that we're going to work on for the year, and here's how much it costs, and here's how much we're earning on it. Are you okay with this? Meaning that the power would be in the members' hands if they disagreed with a project, rather than just being in the board's hands. So I think that is potentially up for debate. President Verschini, what do you think?
Please repeat the question.
Well, I was saying that on the things to do, they prepare a annual financial report or statement. I was like, this one we've not historically done, although it wouldn't be bad. And also the budget should in theory be voted on by the general membership.
Yes.
Now, I was saying that not everybody in the board seems to be in agreement with that based on some of the chats we've had. And also not everybody in the board seems to agree with whether or not we should report the exact bank account balance. So these things I think we should discuss at the BOD, and you don't have to worry about them right now.
Yeah, but I believe that a tentative budget should be voted at some point. But I don't think, you remember, we gave a deadline to Kenya and blah, blah, we all did this thing. So I don't think anything has happened yet. But I don't know how to really solve this issue of no one has submitted. Forget no one has submitted a budget, no one has submitted a project. So that is, but can we still have it? And can we have a tentative budget like this? Like we don't have to say which project, what for projects we put an amount. For
Mhm.
other things, we put an amount. We don't go in the detailed projects. Then whoever pitch for it first, they write their PMG, they submit, and they say how much they are going to. Then they get the. At the same time, it's going to be a motivation. I feel it's not
Right.
like I don't think any of the projects will anyone has the intention of taking finance from the chapter for their projects. I think all of them are quite independent so far. But what I would say is let's just earmark generally for projects. Let's do it generally. Then we are not dependent on anyone to present this annual budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this here has been like the template for years past, which, you know, the intent is that everybody follows it, but I'm not sure how many people are aware of it. And, you know, to be honest, we're learning as a board so that everybody gets into their roles a little bit deeper. So, you know, the long story short is that there is a place for proposed and there's a place for actual, because, you know, sometimes the actual is different than the proposed, hopefully for the better, not for the worse. But so basically this gives the overall, you have your management development, which includes like your all members meetings, as well as social media. Like, let's say if we had an advertising budget, if we had a website budget, grants and scholarship, and also like the planning session, which, you know, proposed was income and expense of 300. The reality is it cost maybe $47 and that was donated. Same goes for membership. Now, the big ticket item on here is membership dues, where this is an actual calculation from the membership plan, which is over here. And Alex Palacios is actually managing this sheet. So whenever there's a new member that's up for renewal, it stays here, and that is counted as due for renewal. And then when that person is renewed, we make a copy over in the renewed column. And so it automatically counts like that is due for renewed. If that person was then put into the drops column, you'll notice that the drops updates. So the idea is we know who's up for renewal based on each month. And then those counts actually fuel the budgetary number, meaning that if everybody renewed, we'd have $2,970 of income based off of dues alone.
By the way, I have a question. Can I?
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry. So I just renewed my how to say my subscription last week, or yeah, and it was only $38. Is that okay? Because I thought it's gonna be like 100. I don't know.
38. Where'd you?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
I don't.
Was that on Glue Up?
Yeah, Glue Up.
Oh, wow.
I received a message that you're a JCI member and your subscription need to be renewed, and it's the amount came up automatically. I couldn't change it. I couldn't do anything. It was just a bill, so I paid it.
Oh, do you have like a receipt you could just provide? Because this is actually a big thing that we'd have to talk to JCI USA about, because that would be a very different number, because they were the Glue Up was supposed to capture both chapter, state, national, and international dues all at once, which the amount that we technically pay for every member to the state is $58. The difference from 58 to the renewal amount is $22. So the renewal amount for an active member is technically $80. That 22 goes to the chapter, 58 goes on from state on up to national and international. So I guess the question is, how many other of our members got a $38 bill that they paid? Because now we have to go figure out how to say, hey, JCI USA, first of all, it's not ideal that they're paying two payments, and second of all, it's the wrong amount. So do you mind shooting?
I was trying to find the receipt in my emails, and I didn't. So I'm going to my bank account now to see.
Okay, and I appreciate you telling us this, because I had no idea that Glue Up was sending renewal notices and having a a thing where you could click and pay.
Yeah, they took $38. I'm looking into my bank account. It was March 3rd.
Okay.
Today is March 7th. Yeah. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, nothing more.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll deal with this on the back end, and I'll say that you, as the finance director, might we'll definitely loop you in the emails because we'll be sending it to finance@jcinyc.org, which does go to your finance director email. Which I meant to ask, are you able to check that on like your phone or regularly on your laptop?
Zaha mail.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can check it on my phone. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So as you can see here, assuming that we would collect an average of $90, which is either 100 for new or 80 for renewing, times all of the people in the column G50, which is the end of the month down here. So if we had 33 members at the end of the year, that would be our proposed income. And then if we also paid out the $58 for every member, which is in G50, which is 33, that would be our net positive for membership. So you can see the membership is our biggest moneymaker so far. Go ahead.
Yes, from $80, we pay 58 to JCI USA, right?
Correct.
And 22 remains to our pocket in our bank account and TD Bank.
Yes.
Guys, I'll have to leave. I'll get back in a few minutes, okay?
No worries.
Sure.
Thank you.
And this membership or the membership dues were lower at one point, but we also realized that financially the chapter needs a bit of money to be able to operate. So we're like, well, if we basically get $20 from each member, it's a pretty fair price, and it'll help us weather the storm for any times that we don't have fundraisers. So down here, I also put in the Bantani fundraiser as a proposed income of 30,000 and a proposed expense of 30, because I know that was the goal of the fundraiser. And of course, when we expand out the actual, we can put in those actual numbers later. So the one other thing, like the induction up here.
Sorry, so nothing, even 1 penny doesn't come to our pocket from Banthany project, right? It's totally like.
To my knowledge, but I guess, let's say that we made 31,000 and we only spent 30, maybe we could say, hey, that extra 1,000 should stay with us. I think that the committee kind of needs to decide that and figure out, which that committee obviously is Hafsa, it's President Rashini, and anybody else who wants to get involved. So yeah, but just to give you a for instance, the proposed income of the actually here, did I put that as proposed, or I put that as actual? Sorry, I put these in the wrong column. So let me copy these, and let's say that this was 1,400, just as a number. So we would have been net positive 200, but in the actuality, and I'm just going to drag these down so you can see what the actual numbers are. So we were, 1365 to expense $1. That's weird. Oh, that's why it copied those as zeros. And so, expense. Oh, that's why I put it in the wrong. Right. So we were net $165 and we were under by 35 for getting to 1,400. So that's kind of how this works. And then, the net all the way down at the bottom here are these numbers. So net for the year, we're under by 200 something. And I'm trying to think what is driving those numbers, or 2,000 something.
嗯
Membership expense. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,400. 1,4 Okay, right. So the actual expense is it's going to the ledger, which, as I showed you before, that ledger here is basically it's taking the number for dues, which is and I think it's got the wrong, hold on here. So this is supposed to be equal to ledger, and it's supposed to be equal to this part because I separate the dues as like that's up here, and then everything else that is non-dues related is down below for for income and for expense. So let me go back and double check that. Right, so expense actually this needs to be all right, so and then this one is gonna be down below here. The expenses are, super lame, is this subtotal there. So right now we're net positive. So that was a budget error on my part there. So we're net positive 44 for the year. And that's without even like, I was assuming Kuba's dues ran, Samantha's dues were in, Erica's came in, Doina's came in. So if you want to keep using this system, I have like a checkbox for verified. If you would rather, I guess, use this as the way.
What is the zip books? Is it a website like Zoho?
Similar. It's kind of like QuickBooks, but it doesn't have, probably not as much functionality because it's free. But it would be a way at the very least to get a quick snapshot of what's going on with the bank. And you could go to the reports side of things and you could say like balance sheet, where it says, okay, so liabilities total is this much, assets total
is very
is
good. I think this is much more useful.
Yeah.
The system. Do we have, we keep the access, the user and login in that password sheet in
this
Zoho?
guy? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I guess for now, I'll say that until we have a good way to log like the things that are expected to come in or go out, we may want to log both or keep track of both. And maybe after this year, we'll fully transition into this, or we could even just talk in the board once we fully understand it and decide if we want to transition automatically, like now. In any case, this is automatically going to log, and it has categorizations like dues and subscriptions, project income. I started to make some of these categories, like this was a project expense that was for the induction. So, but yeah, I guess here is a good, yeah. And one thing that I should show you real quick that might be of value is that we've used the ledger inside of here for, I don't know, pretty much all the years since 2014. So we could also say, okay, we keep it purely for the value of understanding our trend. In that we're saying, okay, so expenses are rising faster than income, as you can see, the dashed green line and the orange line. So because as right now you can see there's more expenses because we we did a fair amount of things in terms of like PR. We spent money on the step and repeat. We spent there was a book, this part, donations. This is one thing where a donation is technically logged both as an income and an expense because it has zero financial impact. But it still should be logged both as money in and money out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like to be zero in the end.
Right, exactly. But you kind of want that transaction there purely to know that it took place. Hold on 1 second here. Okay. So yeah, and that's one thing that wouldn't necessarily show up here is if someone donated directly, we wouldn't know that it was both an income and an expense, in terms of tracking. So anyway, I guess for now, and we could even log these later, but if we could log it as we go, it'd be much easier. Even you don't have to have the dates in there because we could kind of backtrack that later. But we kind of have an idea of like, oh, whenever donations happen, it's both here and here. Unless you feel like there's a good way to track some of that granularity inside of here, if you know what I mean.
But we will only see something came to bank account, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So you'll never see the money that's owed outward. You also never see the donations that never hit the bank account, if you know what I mean. So that's the one drawback with it. Now, under transactions, you could potentially log a custom transaction, but see, if you were claiming that
you mean I can add transaction manually, like?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it would throw like a red flag, like it's not reconcilable with the actual bank account. So you could call like, we could make like a custom account. Like if you go in here and
we can create another account
and call it like
just
donations and do like a receivables and like a payables. So yeah, it's something worth playing around with because I definitely like the automated nature of this and the reporting function of it. Now I know that there's a limited number of bank accounts, like you could add
we can add some fund for our fund account foundation.
Well, I mean, I guess the question, would we want that to be commingled as two separate accounts, or would we keep it separate? I would almost say keep it separate because in theory, they operate autonomously from each other, separated. And whenever
but I mean, in the system, they should be like different, like in QuickBooks, you're just adding another bank account and it will have its own reports and stuff. I mean, it will not be mixed up with transaction from this account.
Oh, so we can't add another account without going to a page. So I would almost suggest have a different login for foundation. And just do it that way. So
is it expensive? I mean,
the paid version
subscription,
$15 a month, which this is one thing that if it were me, even like the Zoom, this one, it bothers me the fact that we're paying $15 a month for Zoom, especially if we don't do that many Facebook lives, and this is something we should bring up to the board. We're like, hey, we're spending roughly, what would that be? Over $200 a month or a year on Zoom. So that's 1/5 of our budget right there.
How can we resolve it? Maybe we can ask some members. ID.
And by the way, oh man, so I have 1 minute left because this is like my company got us on a trial for a nicer version of Zoom with phones and such, and I forgot that as a 40-minute limit. Do you want to continue to talk, or do we want to call it a night and try and talk again like next week or something.
Sure, next week, Brandon, would be great because this information I need to,
Digest?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and feel free to
Mhm.
forward that receipt or even the ask email where it asks you for the renewal. That way we can take it to JCI and be like, hey, did you know that you sent the wrong amount to everybody? So, because I guarantee you, if you got it, everybody in the state got it. So anyway,
Probably, yeah.
I got
Mhm.
to sign off here. I'll give you access to the recording, and then maybe should we try for Mondays 9 every week then?
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for your time. Sorry about the power outage, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
Yeah, Brandon, thank you for your time because obviously you're doing it for me.
Sure, no problem. All right.
Okay, so yes, I will try to find this email with this wrong amount and
Yeah, just
we'll
forward it to
discuss.
finance@jcinyc.org, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks. Take care.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye. Good night.
You too.